So my most recent upload was a compilation of TikToks that I made. And apart from them all being short form clips, the thing that separates them from the other videos that I usually make is that they were all recorded vertically. And if you've been around the internet long enough, you know that a large part actually really doesn't like vertical video. Especially professional filmmakers and video makers and video nerds like the people that I know. But I don't actually hate vertical video. Actually, I think it has its merits and can be useful sometimes. But why? Allow me to elaborate. But first, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anton Wong, if you don't already know. On here, I make videos about video production, media marketing, and career and business development. So if you haven't yet, hit subscribe. So vertical video, what is it? Well, it's used to describe any sort of video where the height of an image is exceeding the length of the image. And it's often bemoaned by filmmakers and video producers and video nerds and people of that sort. Whereas horizontal video is wider than it is tall, and well, it's more accepted by video nerds and filmmakers. But where did all of this come from? And why do we love or hate watching videos and films in specific shapes? First, a bit of history for you. The first motion pictures were actually flipbooks, wherein artists would draw successive images on pieces of paper and then flip through them. They would flip through them at such a rate, the succession of photos, that our brains would interpret that as motion. This is also called the persistence of vision, where we see a rapid succession of photos back to back that we just think that it's moving. This is how all film and video works. There was also something called the Zoetrope, which is basically a toy that has a circular base to it and vertical slits all around it at equal distance. And on the inside of the circle was a succession of images where if you spun the circle fast enough and looked through the vertical slits, it would appear that the images were actually moving, very similar to the flipbook. Now, the first film as we know it was recorded by a man named Edward Muybridge in the 1870s. He took a rapid succession of photos of a horse galloping when he made a bet that a horse would lift all of its legs up while it's running. He then later, of course, won the bet and made what we know as the first recorded motion picture. And at that time, photos were known to be rectangular, since the very first photo was taken in the early 1800s with this sort of metal plate with a bunch of chemicals on it. But from then on, film reels were invented, where a bunch of rectangular film frames were put in together in rapid succession. And these were the very first film cameras that were able to capture motion picture. And most of them were almost always horizontal in frame, but some of them were actually vertical, like one where they proved how a cat always stays on its legs and lands on its legs whenever it's dropped. Specific film reel dimensions would often vary, but most often took some sort of variation of a 4:3 aspect ratio. This all changed when theaters and filmmakers had to compete with the prevalence of the television. It was way more widespread, more convenient, but also it was still limited to a 4:3 frame in that the images were actually kind of cut off at the corner. It was a rounded rectangle with sort of an oblong shape, which is kind of actually where YouTube gets its logo from. So what films had to do to compete is to draw them out with new inventions where they would record films with 3 film cameras side by side and then project them side by side so that it appears like one long image. They also started shooting on anamorphic lenses, which would basically squeeze a wide frame of image into this very vertical frame, and then when they would project it back through the same lens to make it look wide again. And eventually they developed frames that were just regularly wide in scope. This look was then associated with high-end films and high-end filmmaking. And the 4:3 frame just kind of continued within television even when they switched over from analog to digital. All the first accessible film and digital cameras were in this 4:3 format. Lots of early internet videos, including the ones on YouTube, were 4:3. YouTube's default was 4:3 for a number of years. Then some of the first digital video cameras started using a 16:9 aspect ratio. This means that for every 16 pixels across, they are 9 pixels down. And from then on, a lot of television started being produced and broadcast in this frame, and most of the internet just sort of converted to this widescreen frame. But back to vertical videos. When did they become so popular? Well, aside from a few experimental films like the one I mentioned about the cat, or some vertical billboards that are video, vertical video didn't actually take hold until very recently. The first touchscreen smartphones decided to have the ability to take photos vertically. And of course, since the most comfortable position to hold a smartphone is often vertically, and since we hold the smartphone most often vertically, well, that's often how they took photos and videos. Vertical videos were often just candid moments of people's lives or things that happen on the street, things that they see in public. But of course, the growing number of vertical videos received increasing backlash from the filmmaking and video making and video nerds community. Some of the arguments were often that they didn't conform to the traditional widescreen and landscape frames like television sets and computers and desktops, or that it didn't fit in with the way that most humans see the world, which is with two eyes this way. But as more people began watching videos on their phones, they kind of started to become okay with it. And it really caught on when Snapchat, the app where you could record and share videos in a vertical format, well, then everyone started recording vertical videos. And then when Instagram introduced stories and later IGTV, well, short form vertical video really caught on. At that point, vertical video became a significant source of online video traffic. This would only increase when Musical.ly, now known as TikTok, would grow on to become one of the largest video sharing apps in the world. And vertical video seems like it's poised to continue to grow as long as we continue to consume on these devices in this manner. But statistics aside, why do I like vertical video? Why don't I hate it? I'll tell you, but first I want to let you know that this video is brought to you by the like button. For every like that this video gets, it will increase by 1 like. Okay, but back to the video. Yes, horizontal frames and horizontal videos are kind of what I grew up watching and grew up learning how to make. It's how I like to film these videos and how I will probably continue making videos in the future. But addressing some of the critics and the quote-unquote haters of vertical video, my question is, why does every video have to be horizontal in frame? Why can't they be vertical or even blob-shaped or heart-shaped? It is art or a medium of message, isn't it? Lots of visual art is done on circular plates. Stained glass windows are completely vertical, and so are so many portraits. And sculptures, pottery, and other 3D art can't really be defined as vertical or horizontal art. Now, people say our vision is horizontal, but if that's the case, then it's not really fully rectangular in shape. Why isn't it not a sort of oblong spherical blob? And as for my liking of vertical video, well, there's just something about a new challenge that just really entices me. This restriction and whole new medium of videos being vertical, well, that poses new challenges, but with new challenges and restrictions comes a lot of creativity. The ability to have people focus on one single character in a frame, or maybe having multiple frames at once. There's a French-Canadian film called Mommy that was filmed and distributed completely in the 1:1 square aspect ratio. And the director said that he chose that aspect ratio to make viewers really connect with that character and feel the way that the character feels. And that was with just a square aspect ratio. Imagine what a vertical one would do. Martin Scorsese once said that cinema is a matter of what you put in the frame and what you don't show in the frame. Well, with this new format of vertical video, you can show so much more vertical information while hiding horizontal information. New possibilities. You could do it for artistic effect or just because your room is kind of messy. If you really wanted to be a great filmmaker or a great video producer, why not be someone who pushes the boundaries and try something new? Embrace vertical video in all of its flaws and attributes. Now, I'm not going to sit around here and say that it's the best, because I enjoy watching most videos on a horizontal landscape mode. And it also has its limits. Like, most people who watch vertical video really won't want to watch more than 2 minutes at a time. Yes, they'll watch multiple 15-second videos, but their attention span can only be for that 15 seconds before they want to move on to a completely different video. But horizontal video also has its limits. Like, if you want to show an entire building, you'll have to have excess stuff on the sides, or you'll have to tilt up and down to show the whole thing. Same thing with a person. My point is that video is both art and a tool and media. It's meant to convey a message and or a feeling and or sometimes just be what they are. Also, the fact that you can kind of see what my face looks like just through a bunch of ones and zeros transmitted by radio waves is already an incredibly crazy concept. So what's one more crazy concept like vertical video? But hey, those are just my thoughts and opinions on this matter. Maybe you completely disagree with me, which I'm predicting will happen. So if you do, let me know in the comments below. And if you'd like to check out another video of mine, you can click right over here. Go do that. I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves and maybe someone else if you can. But apart from that, I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.